Hi, my name is Julie Bowman, and I've lined up 5 different people to interview in our district to ask them questions about how they use technology within their job. The first person I have lined up is Maribel Perez, which is our head of our Human Resource Department. She is in charge of all our staffing and the staffing of acquiring our substitutes as well. The second person I have lined up is Mark Record, and he is our district's maintenance supervisor. He's over all of our buildings, schools, everything. Tracy Krauts, which is my third person I plan to interview, she is the head of our cafeteria systems. I know she's in charge of ordering food, but other than that, I can't wait to see what else she does. And then I'm going to interview fourth, Katie Bushman. She is our head counselor of 1,200 students for our grades of pre-K through 5th. And then my last person that I intend to interview, which I'm most excited about because she's just simply amazing in our district, is our district's professional development coordinator, and her name is Kelly Norgard. I have several questions that I intend to ask them over technology. The first one is basically how they cover technology within their job, how they use it. The second one is particularly which software do they find useful. The third question is about the benefits of using technology within their job. The next one would be what negative aspects that they have of technology. I can't imagine that there are any, but I'm sure that there may be some that find a negative aspect to it. And then I also would like to know what parts of their job can they do without the use of technology, and what would be the most challenging part of their job if they did not have technology. And then I just would have questions like how would they, what suggestions they have that would improve the use of technology within their job. I look forward to all of these interviews, and I can't wait to see what I learn and what exciting new insight that I gain about technology and how everyone in their specific positions, how they use technology. And I can't wait to see what I gain from it. I will report back to you when I finish all 5 of those interviews. Thank you. Make sure it's rolling.
Yep.
All right, very good. All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice to see you again.
Same here.
You are going to help me a little bit out on one of my prerequisites for my class. I have to do a video.
Okay.
And I'm doing some interviews on how you use technology in your job.
Okay.
So I'm just going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to be taking notes as you answer them.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right, you'll state your name and what you actually do here at Bryan ISD.
Okay. My name is Maribel S. Perez, and I'm an HR coordinator of staffing and substitutes.
You're going to be faster than me.
Oh, that's okay. No big deal.
Okay. In your job, how do you use technology?
Well, technology is everything I'm tied to in this role, with either recruiting, vetting out applicants, checking credentials online with TEA or SBOE. We also use a lot of the more universal platforms like Google, because we are able to share documents and edit each other's documents. We keep track of like active employees on certain software that we use like eFinance and eSchool. In the Google platform, we use doc slides and forms, and that's shared with the department. We also share lists of like active substitutors with the campuses. We use programs for maintaining job accounts for both substitutes and teachers, and it keeps track and communicates with payroll, for teacher balance and absences, and then payroll to pay the subs and tutors for their work. That program is actually from Frontline, and we use ASAP. Well, it used to be called ASAP. It's now Absence Management and Frontline Applicant Tracker. We also do some scanning with Laserfish, where we keep documents such as transcripts, years of service, things like that we scan and we house online on a server for the district. That's pretty much what we use daily.
Okay. You kind of incorporated the type of software,
Mm-hmm.
eSchool and eFinance.
What we also find to be useful is like all those Microsoft Publisher and Word and all those documents, because we have to create like verification of employment. We create documents. We create our letterhead that way. We use Publisher. I use Publisher to create flyers and information that we use out at recruiting. Just for example, like giving information about stipends and salaries, and we make posters to attract people in the public for information about how to apply for substitutes and tutors. We do use social media platforms because we do post jobs that are available. We communicate to let people know. We tag the universities that we're on their campuses to let them know to come talk to us. We were using a universal website called teacherteachers.com, where we were vetting for applicants outside of Texas, and we've had a few, in fact, that we've had the application come through and hire.
Do we get many from out of state?
We only got, I think the number was 4 last year that we actually processed and hired, because even though so many apply, they actually don't move. But we will interview using Skype, Join Me,
Cool.
GoToMeeting, just so that we can give them the opportunity to get to know us and ask the questions about the district and the area.
I know you do a lot of, you've done the, over at the school.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where Callie met you that one time, where you were doing a job fair.
Job fairs. Those are the university, the teacher job fairs. We'll take things like our laptops and our iPads so that they can sign in and we can have record and collect their resumes. But we also might show a slideshow using Google Slides or something to show
About our
them a little bit
district.
about the district.
Cool.
And then, of course, the creation of the flyers that we create with the publisher to share with them information about associate teachers and other positions that they might be interested in.
Yeah, I learned a lot more about that this year with associate teachers. That's really
It's a new position to Brian.
that's awesome, actually.
Mhm.
The benefits of using technology in your job.
The benefits is the housing and the maintenance. It's always there. The only error are going to be human errors. So because it's just housing, it's what we input. I think for record keeping, it's something that we very much rely on. For collecting and accruing login documentation, for example, if somebody signs in for a meeting, we can do it electronically, or that we meet them at a teacher recruiting opportunity. Things that we house, we share, and that's why we use, I would like to say universally in our district, district-wide, we use the Google platform so that we can share and upload and provide information that anybody that we allow to see the information can see it. For example, like that active sub and tutor list that our principals and our campus secretaries and our Title I department can have access to at any time. We also rely very heavily on the communication and PR piece, because we post positions that are available, and then we reach out, we email. We might even, like I said, have Skype meetings, especially if they have questions. Set up some interviews that way. I mean, nothing can replace the face-to-face. But it's an opportunity, especially for somebody that's out of town or out of state that needs to be interviewed right away. And that way we can highlight our district that way.
Do you see any negative aspects to technology?
I think it's over-dependence. It's hard to be at work and have maybe a server go down, or get an email from Frontline or eSchool letting us know that, it's going to be on maintenance, or sometimes they'll let us know ahead of time. But that over-dependence, what do? I'm not going to twiddle my thumbs while I'm waiting for that to get done, but everything is housed on technology. And then if, let's say, for example, it's a server error, and maybe we go outside to, I don't know, McDonald's with our laptop, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference because everything is through the server. So
you have to be within the proximity.
You have to be logged into your Bryan ISD server to be able to access a lot of those documents and those programs. We have a VPN access that we are allowed on our laptop, so that if I wanted to work from home, I can access a few of those programs, but not necessarily everything. Obviously, Google I can see anytime, but Google is something I create. If I need to look up somebody's let's say, for example, their certification, well, that's tied to Social Security number, which is not accessed anywhere else other than in our applicant program. So if I can't access the application program at home, which I shouldn't be able to, then I can't look it up.
Okay, yeah, I understand that.
Mhm.
Okay, what are the parts of your job that you cannot do without technology? That you can do without technology.
Well, meeting and greeting, obviously, you know, being out in the public and actually meeting at the universities, the candidates that we'd like to rope and bring to our district, especially those that we know have been student teaching or clinical teaching with the district. We want to make the face-to-face contact with them. So technology can't replace that. Meetings, you know, actually sitting down and going through or vetting a process or vetting an experiment or something that we want to do differently. That's something we can do face-to-face or in person. Otherwise, it's just the person-to-person PR kind of thing that technology can't replace. Otherwise, everything else is dependent.
It's dependent on technology.
mhm.
What is the most challenging part of your job without technology?
Without technology, if I needed to know what employee is active, or if I needed to know if a teacher is absent, or if I needed to know if a sub was working, I wouldn't know that unless I have access to ASOP or eSchool or those programs that we use every day. It's challenging to be able to move forward with onboarding new applicants or new positions. Like, for example, if Julie Bowman is somebody that I was going to recommend as a campus, as a teacher, then it goes through several processes here. It goes through fingerprinting, it goes through references, it goes through credentials and certification, it goes through paperwork, orientation. Every single one of those steps is checked or marked in technology. So if we don't have access, they're actually on hold. I mean, we can do a lot of other things, but we can't guarantee fingerprints are done unless we can look it up. We can't guarantee that their credentials are unless we look it up. So those things, especially in the summer right now, because this is when we're bringing on our new employees, they're on hold whenever that piece is down.
Do you have any suggestions on how to improve the use of technology with your job?
I would say being able to have access without having to be logged into a district server is so important. But on the HR world, there are certain things that we shouldn't have access to in our personal life. You know, looking up social security numbers is not something that we're allowed to do unless we're in our district server. And it keeps track of what we log into. It keeps track into who's the one that's looking up the number, who's the one. And so that's really good for security in the HR world. And then we can't access the banks of lists or the list of subs or the list of teachers or anything like that unless we do have access. So if I wanted to improve my job, is just being able to have access to some of those things if something goes down, which everything is tied to servers, everything is tied to because of those firewalls and the security systems that are put in place. Just having that permission to access.
No, I've taught in old school where you wrote everything out by hand, and now
me
I
too.
can't imagine life without it.
And that's what I'm talking about, that over-dependence right now, because everything I did was in a grade book, and
Yeah.
I'd write it out, and I'd calculate it with a calculator. Yes, I'm almost 50. So, you know, those
I'm
kind
ahead
of
of you.
things. So all of those things are so hard to track, and now our world revolves around it because of security. You know, grade books laying around the table was something that you didn't think about quite as much as you do now with access. You know, even our student teachers, they have to sign a form that says, yes, I'm assigned to work with Miss Julie Bowman, and yes, I may have access to technology, so I'm signing that I will keep it business. And so they know that when we orient them, when they come on board.
I had a great student teacher this semester.
Well, that's good.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These iPads are wonderful.
I know, I love them.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Julie Bowman. I'm glad you're willing to do this with me. If you'll please state your name and what you do.
My name is Mark Record, and I'm a maintenance supervisor for Bryan ISD.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You scared me.
You're all good. You're helping me to fulfill a part of my practicum. I want to go ahead and just let you know that. And I appreciate your time and effort on doing this. How do you use technology in your job?
Well, I use several things. I use iPad, my desktop, and also use a cell phone. I use for emails, work orders. Our work order system is web-based, so all that's done through technology. Time clock for our hourly employees. Use a lot of Google Docs to share, especially the shared Google Docs with multiple people in the district. So
Okay, cool. What software do you find useful for your position?
Excel, couldn't do without Excel. Use Word quite a bit, and Google. A lot of things in Google too. I know
Yeah,
that's
I had to
not technically
learn-
software, but
Google Docs was something I had to learn when I came to Bryan, but once I mastered it, it's very helpful.
it is. It is. We do a lot. It's just another form of communication, really, for us. It just really helps us.
What are the benefits of using technology for your job?
For us, absolutely, it's a time saver. And then a lot of what we do is regulatory activities, and this is instant record keeping without paper. I mean, we can record everything we do, all the inspections, all the tests, everything we do, and it's kept for us without having to print it out and put it in a file. So,
That's good.
Super time
I'm
saver,
all
yeah.
about saving paper.
yeah.
What are some of the negative aspects of using technology?
Uh,
Or do you feel there are any negative aspects?
I don't know if they're really negative aspects. I think we really feel a crunch when we lose power, or when we lose our internet connection. If we lose that connection, that can make our jobs tougher. And then I think on a personal level, it's the distraction, especially on a phone, of that temptation to play games or do things that are not productive.
I can see that.
yeah.
When we're in meetings, you always kind of question, okay, are they doing what they're supposed to be doing on that phone, or are they walking on Facebook?
yeah, exactly. I think those distractions are about the only downside to it. And then, like out in the real world, I can see people on their cell phones in the cars, and it just scares me to death.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think technology is wonderful.
Yeah, I do too. What are parts of your job that you can do without technology?
I think the biggest is like the interpersonal relationships with coworkers, with my employees that I supervise. We do monthly luncheons. I can do that without technology. I can get in the kitchen and cook a little bit without
And
technology.
you're amazing at that. We got to witness that on Monday.
And then on occasion, I go out on the job and help my guys. I have plumbers, carpenters, painters, and electricians, and I go out and actually physically help them do work. So that does not require technology directly. So turning wrenches and twisting screwdrivers and hauling things. So that's some of the things I can do without it.
What do you consider as the most challenging part of your job without tech?
Without a doubt, it's having to counsel employees who are not exhibiting the proper conduct. Those corrective.
Do you have to do that very
meetings.
often?
Not very often. We have a super group of guys in our department, but on occasion they step out of line or they do something that's inappropriate, and we have to counsel with them, and that's always difficult for me.
That'll be a learning curve for me. I think that I build really good relationships, but I think, and I've had to learn that this year with having to, when you run across a conflict, I think that's going to be one of my biggest things to have to, I can deal with it with children, but with adults, it's just a little bit different.
It's a lot different. Yeah, it's a lot different.
And I've had to really deal with that more this year here than I've ever had to deal with it. And I've almost to the point of, I don't want to call it adult bullying, but it's kind of walked that path this year, and it's been a little scary for me.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions on how to improve the use of technology on your job?
I've thought about this in a long time. When I first started in this job, we used technology almost zero.
And how long have you been on this job?
23 years.
Oh my.
Started as a painter in the paint shop. Been with Bryan ISD 23 years. And what I'm seeing is that as new technologies emerge, we're not slow to embrace them, but we don't jump on the bandwagon immediately. But I can see as new technologies are developed, we can start embracing those and using those more. Two good examples are GPS system, the global positioning system, especially out when we're doing playground work or or sprinkler head repairs or whatever, using those pinpoint locations with GPS to guide a repairman to a certain location out there. Inside the buildings, it's not a big deal. You can go to a room number, but out there,
Right.
the GPS helps. And then the next thing, we're just now starting to use thermal imaging. And it's infrared technology where we survey pumps, motors, electrical distribution panels, all that stuff with a heat-sensitive camera. And that can show us problems that could be starting to happen. Like a loose connection will get a little hotter than it should be, so we can find those loose connections before they become an electrical problem.
Oh, cool.
We
You
can
know,
find a motor that's about to burn out before it actually burns out, then we can shut it down, replace it before we have a failure on our air conditioning system. So we can do a lot of preventive things just using a thermal camera. We're even using it now to find roof leaks. We can go up on the roofs and find where the water has penetrated the roof, and the thermal image is different than where it's not leaking.
oh,
So
wow.
a lot of neat things with the
That
thermal
is neat.
imaging. So we're getting into that now.
It's funny because I hear my husband talk about that. He runs all the heating and cooling at A&M. And
Oh,
I listen
my.
to him talk on the phone, and some of that sounds real familiar.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time.
You're
You're
welcome.
amazing to us. I cannot thank you enough. Your positive energy, and I know you use your technology because I see you on your iPad. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because we go to a Bible study here, and I was like, okay, my Bible's in storage, but I use my iPad. I said, I hope that's okay. And they're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I use mine in church every Sunday, yeah.
I
So much
appreciate
easier
you.
to toggle back
Well,
and forth.
thank you, and let me go turn
You're
this
welcome.
off. I don't want all that on camera.
Hi, my name is Julie Bowman, and I would just like to ask you a few questions. This is helping me to complete my certification process through Lamar University to be in administration. Please, if you could state your name and what you do.
Tracy Kraus, and I'm a cafeteria manager at Kemp Elementary.
Okay? All right, thank you. We're going to be talking about technology today and how you use it in your job. How do you use technology in your current position?
We use technology in all of our production to control inventory, and the technology creates food orders. And we also have computer systems on the line that the kids punch in a number and it tells us what kids have eaten for the day, so we can keep track of the amount of students that we feed. And all this information is gathered, and then we turn it into the government to get reimbursement on meals.
Do you do the same thing with the paper copies that we do in the morning when we do breakfast?
Yes.
So you take that and...
I take that from the paper copies and I enter it into a computer,
Okay.
which keeps track of how many meals and what students have ate.
Okay, cool. All right. What software do you find useful? Or do y'all have specific software?
We have our software is through the school, and it's a system called Track Now, and it the dietitian puts all of our menus in that system, and then we have to go back in and put in our numbers, like how many kids we plan on feeding, what they're going to eat, and then that keeps up track of all of our inventory, and it creates our orders, and we turn them in and submit them to the office.
Okay, cool. What are the benefits of using technology in your job?
The benefits are, well, for one, getting reimbursement meals from the government. Because without having the computer technology to keep track of it, it would be a lot harder to send them the information to get our money. Plus, it helps managers. We would do paper copies to make our food orders. We'd have to write it all down by paper.
Oh my gosh, what a nightmare.
And so this does help because it's less likely that you're going to forget something. Because it looks at a menu and then it automatically puts it in, so that way you can order. It orders for you according to the amount of servings, instead of you having to automatically figure out, okay, this case serves this many kids. How many of these cases am I going to need?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Are there any negative aspects to the use of technology?
There is, because with our systems, our technology is only as good as the people that can count. So if they say, okay, we served or we prepared 500 servings of something when they only did 490, then at the end of the day, I have to try to figure out where it is that they messed up. Because everything in our kitchen is counted. From the ketchups, mustards, everything. And so if they don't count right, which when you get busy and all of a sudden you have to rush to make 30 hamburgers, if you don't write that 30 down at the end of the day, when I look at the numbers, there's no way that it says according to their numbers, it'll say, well, we fed, 890 kids. When I look at my numbers, and only 860. So I have to figure out where this
It came from.
Yes.
The discrepancy.
Right. And that happens a lot when you have several people that are trying to count.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's the negatives of it. That, and it does take time to put in everything, and and in our systems, it gives you the food portion, but your paper goods does not automatically come on there. So, or if you like if I type in a 0 or don't type in something, it'll order me a case of it. So then you can end up getting.
Now, like with your condiments and stuff, I'm just curious, do you count like 2 packages of ketchup per student
we have
in a meal, or is there an equation?
We have a cheat sheet, and so, it'll give you about 3 per student. But what we do is we weigh it. So we know that there's so many packages per pound, and that way we don't have to count each individual little ketchup. So we can weigh it and say, okay, there's 1,000 in a pound or whatever it is. And
so now on fish days you offer tartar sauce, but a lot of kids still take ketchup instead.
Right. And so at the end of the day, though, they do have to hand count what we have left over. And that goes on the sheet.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So all that's in inventory. 22 pages of inventory.
Oh, my God. And you do that every day?
No, we do inventory twice a year. But every day I have to put that day's production in. So every single thing that comes in or out of my kitchen has to be put in a computer. And that's what
And
I
is
do.
there one of you, on every one of our campuses?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Except on the high school level, they have an assistant. Because, not only do I have to do that, but I also have to run a kitchen.
Right.
So on a high school level, they have an assistant manager.
Okay. What parts of your job could you do without technology?
Well, I could make the food orders without technology. But it takes a long time, because we used to not have that technology. And we used to do our production sheets by hand. And so we had to sit and handwrite the whole sheet and then turn those sheets in. So the office would have to keep up with that much more paperwork. And so we still have the sheets, but once we enter them in the computer, we get to throw them away. So I don't have to keep that in a file cabinet. And so storage-wise, it helps a lot.
Okay. What's the most challenging part of your job without technology? If you didn't have it, would it be the orders?
That, yes.
Just the orders?
And when our computers go down, it's challenging with the kids too, because then we either have to write all their names down.
Oh, as
to
they
who
come through the
ate.
line?
Yes. Either write their names down as to who ate that day, or luckily we have rosters for breakfast, and so we can check them off, and then later when our computers get fixed, I can put them in.
Does that happen very often?
No.
Okay, I can't.
Usually when we have a storm, or something weird going on.
I've had a lot of those
yeah.
this year.
But
Seems
no,
like
it doesn't happen very often.
Okay.
And we print rosters every day here, so it's not that bad.
Do you have any suggestions on how to improve the use of the technology in your job?
No, because the only thing that for my job would be somehow for our technology to add paper goods. Because it's difficult every week. What if I forget to order sport kits and then the kids don't have anything to eat their lunch with? Because that, if it was automatically put in there, would help. You know, or like when we
So you have to add that extra.
like the cups for ranch, you know, when we have different vegetables that have
Where
ranch
they dip.
dressing, it doesn't automatically add your cups. And so,
And what do y'all do? Just pump that out of a pump, like you get a bigger thing of ranch and add the little cups.
yeah,
of
we
ranch?
mix the ranch ourselves, and we put them in squeeze balls and put them in the
Okay.
little cups. But like I said, our technology does not order those cups. So I have to keep an eye, or my ladies have to keep an eye, and if we're almost out, I got to make sure they get ordered. You know, where if they would automatically put it on there, we could just hit 0 if we didn't need it, but it doesn't put it on there. Any dry goods, cups, napkins, utensils, the little containers that fruit go in, all those aren't automatically on there.
All right, good. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
I appreciate it. God, that's good. I also learned a few things, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want your job, but I know sometimes when the kids go through, they could be a pain. But
Yeah.
y'all do a pretty good job of handling it, so
Well,
I
thank
appreciate that. All right, let me turn my video off here. Hello, I'm here to interview you on some technology things. This is to help fulfill one of my video things that I have to do for Lamar for my principal certification. If you'll state your name and what you do.
My name's Katie Bushman. I'm the counselor here for pre-K through 5th.
How do you use technology in your job?
I use technology for scheduling, for referrals, for SPED, for 504, for any academic tracking, and for behavior tracking.
A whole bunch of
And
areas.
communication. Mm-hmm.
What software do you find is useful?
I use Google Forms and Google Docs for the forms more for tracking information and getting information quickly from teachers, and then Docs for sharing information out with numerous other leaders that need to put information on it. I also use eSchool for, but I mean, it's useful because I have to use it for schedules and grades and things like that. And then eSped is for 504 referrals.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Is that what we use when we go to our meetings?
When I do 504,
504 meetings,
Mhm.
and you have to.
it's called eSped, but we use the E504 side of it. So
Okay, what are the benefits of using technology in your job?
it helps me track information such as behavior. We started tracking behavior when we would go out to the classrooms instead of just looking at referrals, what each call was for. And with Google Forms, it downloads it and gives us pie charts and all of those wonderful things.
So like when you get a call on the radio, are y'all putting that in there?
Mm-hmm. So we made a Google Doc, or I guess it was a Google Form. I'll show it to you. Okay. Sorry, I cracked my screen. It's really nice. I don't know if it's gonna even come up. But it says, I'm reading it on my computer.
So you can see like how many times each teacher calls out on a specific student
Mm-hmm.
and for what reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
So, is this the newest one? This was our newest one. So student name, teacher, grade, location of incident, and then kind of short answer, then code violation, and then what the intervention was, and then next action, if it's a referral or classroom consequence. And so if you put a referral in, Chapa will go in here and see if that's what we had suggested to do. So it shows all that. It's just usually me and Word that do it. Here's all the kids' names. And we just started this one the last 3 weeks. This was the newest version. Teachers. And then which grade levels, location of incidents, most of them were in the classroom, but we were trying to see where it was. Short answer, what did they do? Code violation, disrespect, disrupting class, profanity, so it gives us a
That's really
breakdown.
cool.
Because with the referrals, it just shows a referral. You can't really look into it more. So, and
Trying to
we're
see
gonna,
what's
yeah.
throwing everybody off on campus.
And I mean, that's our first intervention is cool off time. So it feels like we do it a lot because we have to do it a lot. That's our first intervention, and then, you know, we go on through there, and then, classroom consequence only or referral. And that's the number we want smaller next year. If it's a classroom consequence only, maybe we shouldn't be called first.
Exactly. Well, I'm hoping
So-
Champs will help with some of that too.
I think so too. Because when you go up here and you look at the code violation disrupting class, or, you know, if it's profanity and things like that, that should just be an automatic referral. That's the other thing we want to put in there.
Yeah, because there's a lot of that.
So that's it's on all of our phones, and so whenever we go, it's really nice when it comes up that it's this office. But we just,
Put
so
it
when
in
you
there.
see us walking up and we're messing with our phones, that's what we're doing.
Oh,
And then as we
cool.
walk away, we're messing with our phones. So,
I think that's really cool because you can see what our biggest problems are, issues are here on campus. Maybe see how we can address that in other ways.
so that's, and that was one of those.
You know what we don't get a lot of, and it's only because I run it, we don't have kids or parents here in Saturday school from our campus. Okay, so what would be some of the negative aspects, if any, with the use of technology?
There's just a lot of, I feel like I'm on my computer a lot because so much information has to go into it.
So it's time consuming.
Just the paperwork alone for a 504 meeting for one kid beforehand, being an aware and educator, that's the other one I didn't say, and getting all the information. We were talking about it at the counselor's meeting. It's like 6 hours just computer time before a meeting, and then after a meeting, it's another 2 or 3 hours. So even though the meeting might only last 30 minutes, it's just
All the
a
extra work
lot.
that goes with it.
Mhm.
Are there parts of your job that you can do without technology?
There are, but I like to track everything.
Okay. What is the most challenging part of your job without tech?
Not really without tech, but eSped and Eduphoria and eSchool, they don't all talk to each other. So it's in and out of multiple programs, which makes it kind of difficult, like the behavior. If I could have this go into Eduphoria and then everybody could see it, it's for like 504 meetings, I gotta go into Eduphoria, and then I have to go over into eSchool, and then I gotta get information from y'all through emails and things like that. So if there was one platform that had everything, because I mean you have to
Would make it
go,
easier,
because
yeah.
you have to go into Aware, and then you have to go into TAC,
Right.
and then and when you look at a
TAC
kid,
is not always user-friendly because
No.
you don't know if it's saved when it disappears.
Mhm.
And there are times that I think, is it there, is it not?
Well, in referrals you can see, but then classroom incidents, you can't really see
Yeah.
them, and we can't see classroom incidents at all unless we go in as a ghost of you. So when we run a report to see like behavior, it might show one referral, but there's 20 classroom incidents. Well, we can't see that. So that's kind of why we started doing it that way, because
See, and that's
You put
beneficial
in-
because I like to put them in so that if we ever has a big one, then maybe those, you'll
But
see
we
how
don't see 'em.
how it jumped up to being where it was.
but we don't see those.
Because I put up with it for this amount of time,
Mhm.
and then you're like, okay, somewhere there's gotta be a bigger consequence than what I've
Yeah.
done.
And like you've told us that, and some of the other teachers, and then some go, well, no one ever sees it, so I'm never gonna fit those in.
Yeah.
But then if there is a big thing, we can't come back and say,
Hadn't been done.
there's nothing there,
Yeah.
so.
Do you have any suggestions on how to improve the use of technology with your job? probably for it to talk to each other.
for them to talk to each other. And if I could get everybody to use the forms and docs that we use, I think it makes things a little bit easier. Like with choosing, well, y'all didn't do it because y'all are fifth grade, but the other grade levels, fourth grade takes their fourth grade kids and puts them into fifth grade classrooms, and they do it all in Google Docs. And so I can see it, they can see it, Ms. Dominguez can see it, the principal, AP, everybody can see it, so it makes it really easy.
So they're sitting ready to go kind of for next year unless y'all make changes.
But then getting everybody to want to use it that way, that's kind of the concern sometimes, so.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
For being a part of my
You're
my
welcome.
video.
You're welcome. I sure hope it recorded.
It did.
Okay.
Sure, trolling. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for participating in my video. It is to fill one of my requirements for my principal certification.
Okay.
So if you'll just please state your name and what you do.
Okay, Kelly Norgard, and I am the Director of Professional Development for Bryan ISD.
You have to give me a second to write. Okay. This is all about technology.
Mhm.
So how do you use technology in your job?
Every single day, all day. The great thing about Bryan is we're a Google district, so I rely very heavily on all things Google. So as the Director of PD, I do a lot of presentations for myself, for other people. Everything is through Google Slides, lots of shared documents. We use Team Drives for everything. So yeah, it's kind of replaced what we used to know of the whole Microsoft Office way of doing things. And pretty much everything.
Okay,
is
you
through
pretty
Google.
much really answered the second one on your software, so it's pretty much so just your Google is what you rely heavily on?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. What are the benefits of using technology in your job?
Well, it allows us to be collaborative regardless of where we are. So I have lots of different teacher groups and administrator groups all across the district, and it doesn't require us to be in the same room to be able to collaborate and share ideas, share thoughts, share resources. It makes everything, even though it is very asynchronous, it has a synchronicity to it where it feels like we're right there doing things together.
Okay, all right, cool. I kind of get that through what we're doing here in this workshop right now.
Yes.
We're already sharing our ideas, so
Exactly.
it's really neat. What are negative aspects of technology? Or do you see any?
Professionally, I really don't see very many. I do see some as a parent. I think it makes our kids, we try in our jobs to make it more connective, but I think it disconnects our kids from a lot of things. And so we'd be really careful that we don't raise a culture of kids who have lost the human factor and the ability to collaborate and
I
communicate.
see that. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Even with, not so much my own kids, with our students. And the ability that they can bring their technology to school, and that's, instead of recess, they'd much rather be, can we get on our
Yes,
technology today?
exactly.
Instead of running and playing and having the interaction with each other.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, we're gonna go on the playground, we're gonna leave our
But
technology.
they don't know how to play.
Yeah.
They've forgotten, or they haven't even learned how to play. I don't know.
Well, and I think it also helps, I've learned that they don't know how to play team-wise, to be
No.
a team player,
No.
because they do this all day long. What parts of your job can you do without technology, or are there any?
I do a lot of coaching of staff, both new teachers and new administrators, and so that requires a lot of face-to-face sitting down, doing learning walks and then talking about things that we see, and never once does technology come into play with those things. It is true face-to-face collaboration, and there has to be a human factor because you can't grow people without being with them.
Well, like I told you, when you were in my room, I see there's a little bit of Kelly Norgard in everybody's room. You leave a little bit of you behind all the time, whether you know that or not.
Thank you.
What is the most challenging part of your job without technology?
If we didn't have it, it would limit my ability to collaborate. I'm responsible for staff at 22 different campuses, and while we're not big like a Dallas ISD or a South Fair or something like that, geographically we're still pretty spread apart, and I can't get to everyone I need to get to in the way that I need to if I didn't have it. So I could see it; it would limit my ability to be accessible.
Do you have any suggestions on how to improve the use of technology in your job?
Yeah, we need a lot more time for people to experience it. You know, we tend to give people like a dunking into whatever the new tool, the new trick is, and to really make it yours, you've got to live with it every day and have time to pilot it and try it and make it your own. And oftentimes we forget that piece.
Do you think training maybe would be a?
Training that has a sustainability piece to it, not just here's the new initiative or the new toy or the new whatever, but time, okay, now go practice and let's come back in a month and see, okay, what have you done with it? What have you done? And let's collaborate and see how we can share, because otherwise you try it, it's new, it's the new gimmick, the software or the hardware, and then all of a sudden it's back on a shelf because you don't have time to truly integrate it.
All right, cool. All right, thank you. I appreciate your time, and
that was
I
it?
will. Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're quick. I told you it wouldn't take very
Yeah.
long, but I appreciate you
You're very
being
welcome.
willing to do this.
Of course. Good
Thank you.
luck. Okay.
Hi, my name is Julie Bowman, and I had the most amazing opportunity to interview several very valued personnel in our district. Each has a very important leadership role as well as a unique job responsibility. Maribel Perez is our district human resource coordinator. She is responsible for staffing of our staff, as well as locating and staffing of our substitute teachers. Mark Record is our maintenance supervisor of our entire school district. Tracy Kraus is the cafeteria manager of our district, or actually supervisor of our district. Katie Bushman is the lead counselor of our pre-K through fifth grade campus of over 1,200 students. And the last person that I so enjoyed interviewing was Kelly Norgard, and she is the director of all of our personnel development in our district. I interviewed each of them on how they use technology in their positions at our school district. I learned that they all lean very heavily on the use of their technology devices, and most confirmed that they could not do their jobs without the use of technology. Each felt that they would not be able to do their jobs very efficiently without having technology. In fact, it speeds up all of their required paperwork. There are some programs that I actually was not familiar with, such as the Google platform. One of their complaints was that there are just some things you cannot access unless you're on our district server, which actually handicaps them where you actually can do your work. Where I do understand the security of the information, I do see how it can have an inconvenience and the ability not to be able to work from home on the weekends. It is evident that neither of these district leaders would be as successful at their jobs without technology being just at their fingertips. It is the very being that gives efficiency to their daily work task and ensures their job success. If I actually had to do this entire project over again, I would schedule the interviews a little closer together. It was difficult tracking down our district leaders. I had to schedule a couple of times, and then I would have to maybe sometimes reschedule them, and it just seemed to grow, time seemed to grow in more and more in between each